Hello and welcome to Notes from a Small, Cold, Dark, Miserable Island. My fellow Americans, my fellow Brit people, we are your hosts and your guides through life in exile. I'm Mike.
And I am Matt. And wow, we have a lot to talk about, Mike.
We have a lot to talk about because we've just started this podcast. And so hopefully we have a lot to talk about. Otherwise, it's going to be a very short series.
You wanted to talk about why are we here and what is the deal with you and I specifically as Americans in London? Like, how did it happen?
I think it's only appropriate that we explain ourselves first and get it all out of the way.
Now, me and my English wife have a thing over many years of our marriage where we have like an over-under on how long it takes to explain to new friends or strangers how it came about that we as an international couple are with each other, and we would put that over under at about 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
And
okay.
as the years went on and we just were like, less romantic about it and just washed away the details, we always hit the under. You and I have not done this exercise as much, so I'm not sure what the over under is. I'm only making it
that
longer
sounds
now.
legit. 10 minutes maybe.
Yeah, I bet we could do it in 5 if pressed.
All right. Do you want to start or should I?
Well, you asked me, so I'll go. We are both graduates of, should I name the place? Get the Alumni Association
definitely.
after us for a check. Bowling Green State University, a
Go Falcons.
Go Falcons, Freddie Falcons, Ziggy Zumba or something.
That was the fight song. I could not
Yeah, I didn't go
tell
in for
you
that.
anything about the fight song.
This is a state university in Northwest Ohio. I can't remember how many it enrolled, maybe like 25,000.
I thought it was more about 500,000 students.
No, OSU down south in Columbus is 100,000. So anyway, this is not the world's greatest university, but it's not the world's worst university. And you ended up there from your home of Buffalo, and I from the greater Cleveland area in the mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
We were not best friends. We were acquaintances.
And I think crucially, we both were involved in the media department, right? You were writing for the newspaper.
I was
writing for the newspaper.
Yeah, I was writing music reviews and completely unfounded opinion columns. I was like a 19, 20-year-old kid, and they're like, we want to know your opinion.
The best opinions. 19-year-old kid.
Wow.
And crucially, the radio station. That's what brings us here.
WBGU-FM 88.1 in Bowling Green, Ohio.
You had an awesome radio show. It was very eclectic. I had a radio show. And
you were on BGU, though, not WFAL, the
definitely
AM.
WBGU,
Okay.
yeah. The cool
The Mole.
hipster.
Sometimes called the Mole, sometimes called the Shark. They changed their mascot multiple times while I was there.
That's right, yeah.
But the Mole was better, as in underground.
Yes, absolutely. Better music.
Indie,
Better
like
people.
straight up indie rock. So this is like 90. We were there from 94 to 99, and it's while grunge and everything is and Alternative Nation are happening. They're playing. I don't know. Pavement is too mainstream for what they were playing.
Pavement was
Joan of
definitely-
Arc.
Pavement was definitely on the rotation.
Sure.
Joan of Arc was definitely on the rotation.
But I was like mixing that with De La Soul and also old Charlie Parker records because I was so eclectic.
yeah.
Anyway, we sort of knew each other through the BG News, through the student newspaper, through the student radio station, and through like common artsy indie rock friends.
We haven't even got to England yet.
No. Well, both of us were in a place where we were like, hey, I could do a semester abroad.
We want to see more than Ohio.
Yeah. But we don't want to go anywhere where they don't speak English.
No way.
Not me. I can't. Un poquito de español.
That's much
Solo.
better than my Spanish. I'm
Right.
so bad at languages. I try so hard. Wie geht's? Yeah. Oh.
Well, actually,
Shukran, blah, blah, blah. Ah, nothing fucking sticks.
so we end up at the same study abroad meeting where they're like, okay, students who are studying abroad in the fall is what we call it in America, the fall, and
Awesome for our British listeners.
they, they're just giving us background and here's what to expect and here's the paperwork you need to do and la da 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 da, and then any questions at the end of that meeting, and I put up my hand and was like, is anybody going to go like Eurailing across Europe? Is anyone thinking about doing that? And Mike, who I, vaguely knew, said, yeah.
It's like, yeah, man, let's do it.
And whoever was running the meeting was like, yeah, you guys talk in private. This is not the time nor place. But sure enough, we made arrangements to get our Eurail passes.
Were we on the same flight over to London?
I remember this distinctly, Mike. I remember that I flew from, and this is before like the internet is really, the way that you book flights. But we met. So you flew from, you either flew or drove from Buffalo to Toronto, and I took a connector from Cleveland to Toronto, and we miraculously met in, at the check-in desk in Toronto, and we were on the same flight over.
And we landed on the same flight, the same day.
And then we began a 1 month.
1997.
97, best year in God's history. And we began a 1 month trek through European cities using our Eurail passes.
At some point, you are going to be reading the entirety of that journal that you have in front of you.
It's more of an audiobook for the future than a podcast. But just to break it down, so Toronto, London, Norwich, Harwich, Hoek van Holland, Amsterdam, Hamburg, Copenhagen, Oslo, Gothenburg, Copenhagen again, Berlin, Prague, Vienna, Venice, Rome, Milan, Nice, Barcelona, Madrid, Paris, London again, and then Norwich at last, the University of East Anglia, where
so many places to be a young, dumb, clueless American.
And broke as well. A lot of my and then I journaled throughout it. So
we didn't have much money, no.
Yeah, so I've got this 2-volume, 90s notebook journal in front of me of just like, here's what's going on, here are my feelings and experiences as I Eurail across Europe with this guy I only sort of know, and I did not meet Julie Delby on a train.
No, you just met me. Some people had like, Julie Delby. You just had me and a stupid rolling suitcase because I just didn't buy a backpack. What the heck?
But I had the enormous backpack,
which is the right way to travel, obviously.
Sometimes I envied you that rolly suitcase.
Yeah, we should have traded. Why didn't we trade?
So. And then we both went for a semester at the University of East Anglia. I did my semester and came back to the States. You decided in the 11th hour-ish that you were going to stay for a second semester.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I did. I was only down for one, but then I was like, this is fun. I don't want to go back. Yeah, more or less. That's how it goes.
Okay.
So I was like, I'm staying. They had also stamped my passport. I totally ran out of money by the end, but they stamped my passport so that I could get a job. They put the wrong stamp in my passport, the British authorities.
Wow.
So the following summer, I was just like, I'm just going to get a job here in England.
Yeah.
I got a couple of jobs.
A coming of age
get a
indie film.
Yeah. That was fun. We both met our wives. I mean, they weren't our wives then, obviously.
No, it wasn't an arranged jinx on a Coke. So right at I'll just tell mine real quick. Right at the end of my semester, I had a bit of, I think she wouldn't be offended if I said a fling with my future wife, who I had done a play with and was my friend. And then it was like, I'm leaving, I'm going back to the States, and our feelings for each other have just been revealed. It's also tragic. And so then I went back to the States, and a letter writing I won't say campaign, but a letter writing habit developed, and eventually led to a long distance relationship over the next year. But it wasn't that didn't work out, that long distance relationship. But 10 years later, a rekindling happened, and then we were married in 2008, and I moved to London. That's
and you lived happily ever after.
Well, we moved back to Chicago
in London,
from
in a big castle.
Exactly, because that's
London
where
Fields.
all of us Up the turrets.
That's where the dream happens. Mine was more truncated, but just as happy. I'm in fact, I met Rachel after I think you met your wife. And yeah, again, long distance, letter writing campaign, crusade, maybe. I don't know what the right word is.
That's because it was about Jesus.
And eventually, a couple of years, I don't think Jesus was mentioned. No. Unfortunately, maybe
us
should
going,
have.
Jesus.
And then after we came back to Ohio and lived briefly, and then I did a couple of jobs, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, the AP sent you places. Birmingham, Alabama. I'm sorry, Birmingham.
Montgomery.
But was it? Okay, my bad. I've always thought it was Birmingham.
Birmingham was like a dream, twice the size.
We do need to fill in. I mean, this is minor detail, and we're way over we're gonna blow past that 10-minute mark.
Oh, we're over. Don't worry about that.
We were real world post grad roommates. So after we both graduated, we lived for a few months together before the AP moved you in a great little apartment in Cleveland Heights, Ohio. If you don't know Cleveland, then Cleveland Heights is like the nearest suburb, and it's a pretty cool little suburb.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we lived right on Superior Park Drive, right off Superior Park, where Kane Park is.
Kane Park. I meant to talk to you about Kane Park because now they have these, concerts and things there. All that used to happen there was like the occasional random jazz band and
they have musical theater, like
musical theater.
Yeah, I would go see shows there.
Okay.
Every summer. But yeah, good park. Anyway, so great. Mike came back here first.
You've moved back and forth,
and
I've lived here most of my adult life. I did move back to Chicago for 3 years, and I've just recently moved back to London. And now we find ourselves sort of semi-permanently settled here in the UK. I think we've learned a few things in the last 25 years. You're laughing because you're like, maybe.
No, you're right. I mean, oh, wow. I have a new expat friend from Chicago who just moved into town, and we had our first coffee date yesterday, and he was asking me things about like the basic geography of London, and he was woefully uninformed.
Oh, really?
My 6-year-old daughter is learning about the Great Fire of London, and the difference between Chicago and London is that when the towns burnt down, Chicago had the foresight to rebuild their city on a very strict grid system so that you can always tell where north, south, east, and west are, whereas London, there's no rhyme or reason. And so when people tell me, like, where do you live? I can never be like, yeah, just east of North London. I'm like, my sense of direction has not been aided by a clear layout.
Don't you just say your neighborhood?
Yeah, I just
duck.
say Dalston, Hackney Dalston.
And then you duck because everyone is like,
douchebag.
Yeah, hipster.
Dickhead.
I say Ealing, and then everybody just yawns.
Okay. Or they're like, you rich.
Yeah, exactly. You got to prepare for any sort of brickbats.
Yeah.
What was the question? So what was your question that your friend had? Was it, how basic was it? I guess is my question.
Just wanted to know, just like show me on a map where you
couldn't
live.
point to where you live on a map.
And I was like not able to move the center of the map around. I was kept like, is it over here?
Oh, it's a technical issue, not your lack of geography.
Well, I wasn't sure whether to move it east or west, Mike.
This is amazing. This is amazing. You don't know where you live.
Jeepers.
Oh gosh. What do you think for that newly arrived person? I don't know if you can answer this question given what you just said, but do you have any advice, any sort of top tip in dealing with living in this country? Because we should give our audience some advice, I think.
Yeah, I guess it depends on your personality. I guess for me, my first 3 years before we moved back to Chicago for a long time and then returned, my first 3 years were more culture shock than I expected. I have long spoken about this, how I sort of skipped a step in city living where I went from Cleveland and then I, upscaled to Chicago, and I should have like just lived in New York for a few months to experience like a really, really global bustling. As much as I love Chicago and it wants to think of itself as a global bustling city compared to New York and London, it ain't. So the jump from Chicago to London for me was culture shock, just in the scale of the city, the busyness of the city. And if we continue making this, I will die on this hill and bury myself in this hole. The quality of London's people, and by that I mean they're not nice. So yeah, just sort of dealing with, oh wow, this town moves faster. They do not give a shit about you. Midwest hospitality and warmth is straight out the window. Anyone who knows me for any amount of time and is listening to this is rolling their eyes, going like, here he goes again. But just getting used to a more cosmopolitan, competitive, in every phase of public life, like just getting on the bus and walking down the street. We'll do a whole episode on street space politics one day. But my advice,
this can be a brutal city.
Right.
Be prepared.
Right.
Of course, a lot of these Americans who are moving over have experienced the New York issue, which,
or probably LA, San Francisco.
Yeah. So, hopefully they're used to it. Hopefully they have those training wheels.
Or they're less of a big baby than I am, and they'll just like adjust and have some love and compassion for their fellow individuals. Whereas, I guess my advice to anyone who comes here and then is like, and they freak out and they're like uncertain, I think just try giving yourself a 1-to-1 on every element of your life as you go through your day. Like, okay, I wake up, I need coffee. All right, so what's coffee like here? Oh, it's not so different in the end. Oh, okay, grocery stores. I need to go get some food. All right, I'm going to learn about the different the different levels of grocery stores. And because, I think we said this in our pilot, like it's the most easy of immigrations, English speaking to English speaking.
Yeah.
Nothing is so crazy that you can't adjust to it fairly quickly. I think it's all the quirks and the humor of it that make it endlessly fascinating.
This is the thing I would say. It's that word, humor. I think really what you got to adjust to is the fact that British people, they have this code. Like they speak English, right? But it's like it's English in code. And you have to sort of figure that out. It took me I think maybe 10 years of marriage to figure this out. It's never direct, as we know. It's always imbued with what they call humor, but what other cultures don't necessarily find funny.
Yeah, there's irony and just straight out levels of irony, but also just lying to keep things nicey nice and to keep things moving. And yeah, just
this is going to be a theme. But if I would tell anybody who is just moving here, who hadn't lived here before, to spend some time decoding the code. That's what you got to do. Okay, so that's us. We went way over the over.
Man.
Of course.
Good luck, Mike. You're going to have to go in there and find a couple minutes to chop. I didn't even tell the story of how the Anglicky phrase came about. It's here in my journal.
Like our grand European tour itself, we're just going to have to keep going back and, doing deep dives into those places and those stories, I'm sure. But let's bring it up to the current day, because although we're both living here now, we have both been back to the homeland.
Just recently. During Halloween.
Within a week or two. You were on a big Midwest road trip. I was mostly around Buffalo and upstate New York and screaming at a sporting event.
Yeah.
Tell me how your road trip through the flatlands and the firelands and the other lands that encompass
The firelands.
everything
they do
from
call
Cleveland
it
to
that in
Chicago. How did that
Northern
go?
Ohio. Yeah, so we flew into Cleveland, spent a few days with my mom and dad outside Cleveland, and then did a road trip to Chicago in between so that we could spend the last few days of our trip in Chicago catching up with friends in the city where my daughter was born. So this required a long road trip one day, and so strapped my kid in, gave her the Yoto,
Eight
sponsor
hours,
us Yoto.
10 hours?
It did end up being 8 hours. Now I chose not to take the turnpike road because I was just like being frugal and saving pennies everywhere I could, but also because the turnpike path from Cleveland to Chicago is insanely boring.
So boring.
And also, like, the anti-abortion and pro-Jesus billboards across Indiana are dispiriting to me personally, as I lock out a whole section of listeners. So I sort of take a smaller road way, which allows for a stop off in beautiful Angola, Indiana, where they have the wonderful what's it called, Friendship Park, where we have stopped with my daughter many times. This giant wooden playground where is the halfway mark of the journey. She gets out and has a run around.
Wow.
So the road trip,
Big up Angola.
Angola, Indiana. Yet to go to Angola, Africa. So, yeah, I mean, I have a 6-year-old daughter who is a picky eater to begin with. And then when she's in an unfamiliar setting, she doesn't want to eat unfamiliar foods. And so, I'm going into strip malls and going to Meijer mega markets and going like, hey, you can eat anything. Let's just pick anything out. And like, she doesn't know these foods. And so it ends up being a very long fast for her on this road trip until she was very good. And then but then finally near the end, right before we reached Chicago city limits and the traffic starts getting white knuckly, she starts kicking off a bit. But thank goodness for the ever present Panera bagel shops where you can at least go in and get a bagel or a muffin.
Those Panera breads, they're everywhere.
Yeah, they really have exploded. I remember when they were new.
Yeah. You remember when like Chipotle was new?
Yeah, of course, Mike. We remember all the.
We're that old.
So yeah, but it was a lot of driving through suburbs and country. We saw horses and buggies of. Yeah, I'm going to get what the sect is, but maybe Mennonites. I'm not sure.
Mennonites, yeah.
That's Pennsylvania.
Amish,
I think
perhaps. There are Mennonites. There are Amish. They're sometimes difficult to tell apart.
You're racist.
I'm pretty sure that the Mennonites ride the trains, but Amish people won't necessarily go on the trains.
Okay.
I think individually, if you drill down, there's quite a lot of dispute about technology within communities too, and whatnot.
Where do we draw the line?
Yeah, like somebody will have a telephone, and everybody be like, "All right, fine, that's a telephone."
Jebediah has a phone. Everybody gather around. No, it's
Yeah.
Satan.
Possibly a verbatim conversation. You couldn't possibly say.
Your beard is looking lustrous today.
I think you saying is you're out in the country.
Yeah.
Country.
And then we get to the city, and
now I wanted to ask you because it looks like perhaps things might be winding down in terms of this huge immigration enforcement operation that has been roiling Chicago. I don't think even people from New York necessarily understand how big this has been, how sort of convulsive this has been for the whole city. And I'm just wondering if you saw any sign of that. And I'm sure that you and your friends were talking about it. It certainly has dominated all the chatter in the sort of Facebook groups and suburban dad kind of things that I've been, group chats that I've been in. What was it like being there?
I think, yeah, you say there are signs of it, and like literally there are signs everywhere. Every shop front has, get out, you're not invited in here signs. I should have taken more pictures. So shop fronts with signs that say like, you may not enter. And then everybody with yard signs, hands off Chicago, ice out. Basically, and then, what we're seeing on social media and I'm hearing from friends is that you just have basically normies, not like highly politicized people, but everyday people, everyday friends. And there is this, I'm not going to say trauma, and it's traumatic for the people who are actually getting kidnapped, but this ever-present fear that suddenly the whistles are going to start blowing and ICE is going to be spotted on the streets, and we're going to need to follow them in our cars and block them into alleys and obstruct their unjustified operations. And different businesses and different organizations have informed so this is what I was getting from my friends, like, how have you been instructed to deal with it should it come to your place of business? How do you obstruct and non-cooperate without crossing a legal line, without endangering yourself?
Ending up in jail yourself.
Right. And this is what we're seeing, is like we're seeing people following and obstructing the ICE agents, and the ICE agents with their masks on and their no identification being like, oh, I'm going to arrest you if you keep, they don't have Southern accents, but
some of them do. Those
yeah.
good old boys from Texas. You see that picture?
Yeah. So, and then everybody, so like, and I told you before we started that I didn't have a chance to like brief my daughter on this until the very last day. I kept saying, yeah, we're going to talk about this, sweetie. Don't worry. We're going to talk about this, when she would ask what this sign is and stuff. So she saw me wearing like a whistle around my neck. And she did not question me about my new Chinga La Migra t-shirt. She didn't ask, what does Chinga La Migra mean? So what was I saying? Yeah, it's just this thing of everybody's ready at any minute. They could pop up, and and if you see a big, black Suburban on the street, then everybody's craning their necks and looking like, is that them? So it is. So it is this ongoing paranoia, and everybody knows. And everybody has a 1 or 2 degree story of a kidnapping that took place that they know about. You see yard signs saying like, we stopped ICE on this day. We stopped our neighbors, and here's the number to call if you see them, because there's all these like reporting networks, a mutual aid of people trying to help each other. And that's the thing in Chicago. It's a town with lots of immigrants. It's people who've come from all over the world, and a lot of Latin American folks. But in the context of Chicago, these are people who have important jobs. Like, everyone has worked at a place where they had a friend, a neighbor, a coworker who was in the process, who is somewhere along the diplomatic process. Wow. I used to work at a gym in Chicago for many years, and like there were guys who, cleaners and maintenance guys who were somewhere in that process. I'm not going to say that they were 100% legal, all of them, but some of them were. But yeah, I did. Yeah. Pardon me for calling using legal as an adjective for a person. I take that back.
Yeah. So I mean that sort of pervasive sense. I got to say, I mean, everybody was bracing for this when I left in July. It hadn't quite hit yet, so it's very interesting for you to explain exactly how pervasive this is. The paranoia, and paranoia sounds like it's downplaying it, but as we know, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not after you. They certainly are after you. Wow. And here's the thing. I can't say that. So my own recent travels were confined to upstate New York. I think the people who were concerned about this were looking at Chicago. It's like, wow, what is happening there? And yeah, much of this is being covered by the national news in the U.S. But you can kind of think if it hit New York or like in what happened in Washington, where there was sort of National Guards troops coming in or whatever. It seems to be a lot more sort of attention on the coasts if this kind of happens. You know what I mean?
But I feel like L.A. and Washington, it sort of like faded into the background after an initial surge, or maybe it's just who can we trust to report incidences.
I have, in recent days, I've read reports that actually they're going to scale down some enforcement operations in Chicago. And I think that maybe this might be a sign that all that mutual aid and all that protests and people were angry, this might be working, actually. And
Trump's courts have not helped him 100% on this either. There have been rulings, in favor of, you'd have to check me, Mike, on the individual stories, we'll
do some fact checking. At some point, we'll do some fact checking.
So, yes, I know, like, Chicago has definitely worn these guys down, and, like, you've seen reports about, like, ICE agents' mental health, not great, and you're like, well, kiss my ass. There's been multiple, like, ICE agent arrested for drunk driving outside.
Yes, that story. Yes.
Yeah. It's happened multiple times where like an ICE agent has like
ICE agent drunk smashes into a tree.
Finished they had such a terrible day at work. Everyone was calling me fascist and screaming at me and blowing whistles in my face just because I was trying to kidnap this guy. And then I got to go have a few beers before I drive back to the Residence Inn.
I've also seen some videos on social media where there's people who are like, hey, great job, guys, or whatever. I'm sure there's like, those cop-friendly places. And I don't want to sort of single out any neighborhoods, but we know where in Chicago the cops live.
You've seen those on your Truth Social
my
troll
Truth
account.
Social account. It's very popular. At real Donald J. Trump. The thing about Chicago, I think, is actually like I didn't even notice this before I moved there, and I had after 3 whole years, I only was starting to understand all the neighborhoods. You know what I mean? It's a very, very complex city. In some ways, even more complex than like a bigger city. I don't know how to explain that.
I think I was, my new expat friend, I was making the one-to-one comparison as far as with London and, every train stop, every little neighborhood you can jump off and explore around the neighborhood, and they each have their own flavor. And I find that's a comparison that I make with London a lot. And all these little neighborhoods turn into this mosaic of a whole city.
And here in London, where are the Americans living? They're living near you, for one thing.
Have you researched this?
No. This is just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
This is complete speculation.
Yeah. Just apocryphal. Yeah, I be hearing.
If I was an American, I'd live here.
Yeah, I be hearing them here in Dalston. I hear their accents, and I'm like, Yankee, go home.
Well, I was just in a coffee shop actually just before we came here, and the guy picked up on my accent. And he didn't do the thing where mostly people do, which is like, are you Canadian? They try and ease in first.
Yeah.
Because they're like, they don't want to accuse you of being an American or whatever. I don't know.
And the odds are good, again, I've said about Ontarians.
Yeah. The odds are good, yeah. Are you from Toronto? Boom. Yes, nailed it again.
I love Drake.
I don't think anybody says that anymore.
You're right.
Anyway,
so
and then he just struck up a conversation, and he was clearly sort of just trying to, I don't know, be friendly or something, kind of a rare occurrence in the city.
That's lovely.
But I was also thinking, around here where we were recording this in Dalston, it must be lousy with Americans.
Yeah.
I don't know. We probably need to do some more research and fact-checking here.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. Like, we talked about this last time we spoke about Mayor Khan taking a little bit of Trump's anti-London bait and saying, like, well, you've got, record numbers of American immigrants coming into coming into London, and why is that? So yeah, there must be some numbers to prove this out.
Yes, and all you newcomers, this is why we're here. We are your sherpas.
Yeah,
we've ended up with this gallop through our life stories at the point of this whole thing, which is you guys gonna need some help. Right, we went way over, but I think we did it fairly efficiently.
I hope so.
What about you?
I'm okay, Mike. Are you trying to wrap up?
Yeah.
Okay. I just because we don't have a theme song yet, so I just wanted to. Yeah, I just want to run something by you.
Okay.
Okay. You ready?
Go for it.
Here, okay. Here we go. Hip 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 hip. We're from northern USA. Now we stay in the UK on an island with no sun. We're podcasting from London, watching Labour fall apart. Trump's what they call a fart. We'll spend some time together, complain about the weather. We won't eat Cheez-Its anymore. I might have to go back to the workshop on that last line because Cheez-Its are now starting to come into the UK market.
I wouldn't worry about it. I like the Cheez-Its.
Okay. With Cheez-Its Snapped, which are not proper Cheez-Its because they're not ultra processed enough.
Something that your daughter rejected rightfully on the road trip, right?
She was more of a goldfish gal.
Okay, all right. I think they're healthier.
They are, yeah.
Again, I have no evidence here.
Baked, not fried?
Yeah. I love it.
Thanks, Mike.
Excellent. It's going to be a tradition. You're going to write one of these every episode.
Well, as long as we keep just, claiming fair use.
Committed to the bit now. All right.
Hey, we got Thanksgiving coming up, which obviously, if you're an American living in the UK, that's a concern. So yeah, we should maybe next time we can touch on the experience of Thanksgiving or the lack thereof, whether you try or not.
It used to be in this country very difficult to get a turkey before, say, December the 15th. It's not anymore. We've successfully Americanized this to some degree.
So many pubs doing Thanksgiving roasts.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
It is now a thing. But yeah, next time we'll do a little Thanksgiving recap.
Yeah, I'll be like, I didn't do anything.
Likewise, we'll talk some turkey. At least we need to talk about Native American myths or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
What they teach in schools.
Changing.
In Chicago suburbs. We'll get out some instruction books. Right. Okay.
Like and subscribe if you're listening to this and we're on a platform.
Definitely. Do that. Go to your platform. Do all those things you never do when you listen to a podcast. Tell your friends, especially if they're American, even if they're British.
If you have British friends living in America, or if you have American friends living in Britain, or Angolan friends living in Toronto, definitely let them know.
Our target market defined. Thank you. Talk to you next time.